Awesome.
Okay,
Hmm.
I want to turn the stage. You were an Obama leader for
Yes,
2023. How did that
yes.
come about, and what did the experience teach you?
So I applied for for it. That's how it came about.
Good.
Uh, um, yeah, so I get these on my feed, on my news feed, on my LinkedIn feed, and so I looked it up, and I said, okay, this is interesting because it was more or less teaching emerging leaders about value-based leadership, the kind of
Mm,
principles that President Barack Obama exemplified when he was president of the United States, but also the kind of leadership that others like Mandela, Nelson Mandela, exemplified when he was president of South Africa, and even prior while he was leader of the ANC from prison. So the fellowship or the leadership program was a 6 month program that required us to have and or participate in sessions online, interact with other experts, including other alumni of the foundation leadership program, to just share their experiences with us, but also giving us an opportunity to share our experiences and our insights with them. And it was a space for peer learning, it was a space for coaching and mentoring. In fact, the coaching was probably one of the most valuable
mm,
benefits that I got from the entire experience. And it just made me it's a space that will humble you when you hear all what others are doing, and
mm.
you think, oh wow, this I thought I was doing something, but there are other people are doing other amazing and fantastic work. And it was a community of people who want to have good leadership or want to demonstrate good leadership by inculcating the values of hope, of community, and of integrity and accountability.
So, what was one thing that you took away on how to become an amazing leader? Because, first of all, let me tell you, this is highly competitive. So, they don't just pick random people off the street. So, you apply, but there must have been something about you that made them say, this man belongs in this room. Because I'm sure as we're looking at other people say, wow, these people have done a lot, they were looking at you the same way. So,
Mhm.
thank you for being
Yeah, yeah,
preaching what you
no,
say. You know?
absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. It was highly competitive. I think at one point we learned that they received 4,000 applications and they
Mm.
had to choose 35. I did not envy them at all. Those who were doing the selection, I don't envy them because the continent, like you rightly pointed out, is packed with talent. It's packed with people
Mm.
doing amazing stuff. So
Mhm.
to choose from that list of amazing talent and leaders is quite a tasking job. So,
Mhm.
and I feel humbled. I feel privileged to have been selected, and I'm grateful for the opportunity that I had to also share with other Obama leaders from across the continent, and then but also across the world. And
Mhm.
there's a lot of exciting things happening in the Obama leadership community, even post the active fellowship or leadership
Mm.
program year. So it is highly competitive. To stand out, you have to do things that stand out,
Mm.
and um, and be able to again tell your stories, just like we are talking about the storytelling from Africa, about Africa, by Africans. That is the same thing we
Mhm.
just have to apply,
Yeah.
in our individual spaces and self. Like the
Wow.
amazing work that you are undertaking now in the UK by bringing in transitional justice to advance criminal justice reform. It is just phenomenal. And I'm just
Mhm.
thinking about the various kind of things that you could be doing and the things that it could be learned. And this is what it means, right? This is what it means by uh, And these are the kind of things that have been written by post-colonial authors and writers and philosophers for years. What you're doing now is actually implementing what our ancestors, our Pan-African forebearers, have preached. You are manifesting that Pan-African vision and spirit, and I think you should be proud of yourself. And I think that is one of the things we should all be doing in any space that we find ourselves in or outside of the continent, where we put to practice the preachings and the teachings of our Pan-African forebears and the teachings and practice of what we see based on our experiences, our lived experiences in the continent and outside.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. One thing, I flirt with the idea of one day running for president of my country.
Excellent.
Some days I'm like, yes, I need to change. I need to be a leader. Yes. Other days I'm like, girl, go sit down.
Because nobody will change it for us, and that was one of the mantras of the Obama leadership program, that we are the change that we've been waiting for. Nobody will make this change if we don't do the work, if we don't do the action. Nobody will come and change it for you. So you be the change that you are looking for. Be the change that you are asking for or waiting for.
Mm-hmm. But I think that sometimes, right, with African leadership, it's almost like why I hesitate and I take it very seriously, and the sanctity of being a leader is because you feel in our politics, and as you rightly put it earlier, politics around the world, people are like, any Tom, Dick, and Harry feels like they can run for office. That's not just the case. I know that's not the case. Even though I have good intentions, I think, I can do okay one day, the more I grow. I think to myself, I'm like, I just don't want to be an anyhow leader, or people vote for me because I sound good. I want to have those principles that for African leadership. What are those principles to you? If you were to advise me, okay, Julia, you have how many more years till you can qualify to run for office? These are the things you should be working on now. What would you say?
I think firstly, your integrity has to be intact. You have to have a reputation that precedes you in all the good ways. Mm-hmm. And because, unfortunately, you're a woman, the scrutiny is even multiplied, which is a sad phenomenon. The amount of scrutiny that is given to women who are interested in elective political positions in the continent, and perhaps even elsewhere, is much higher and robust than the way they scrutinize men, many of whom are the principal architects of the disasters that we're experiencing across the world right now, right? And it also shows that if more scrutiny had been done on these men, we probably will not end up having them as our leaders. So integrity is one. Confidence, you have to have self-confidence that, a number of things will be pushed your way, a number of mud will be thrown at you, a number of people will actually knock you down with just their words to say, why do you think you can be, just like you said, why do you think you can be president? Do you think everybody can just wake up and be president like that? You have to have the conviction, that self-confidence and very firm conviction of what you want to be and who you want to be, so that nobody can knock it off you. That is really key, because you will get challenged, you will get pushed, you will get questioned, you will second doubt yourself, or self-doubt yourself, or second guess yourself. All of those things will happen. What will keep you is your conviction, your firm conviction and self-confidence. And this comes if you are religious, and for those who are religious, with a firm belief in God, and ensuring that if God protects you, you will be covered. And then the other thing is about, which is now getting into a different terrain. It's about courage, right? Mm-hmm. Having courage to pursue your dreams and aspirations, the courage to articulate your plans and your thoughts, and pursue them in ways that sometimes can be unconventional, sometimes can be, but because they're innovative, you just have to be there and be consistent, consistent in your principles, consistent in your courageousness and in your conviction, consistent in your integrity, And then you have to do what all politicians should do, which is interact with your people. Interact with your people in various ways, at every level. Go down to the grassroots, to the community. I don't want to use the word grassroots, but go down to the people who actually vote. Most of the time, the people we talk to in these small spaces don't vote. They don't even register. The people who actually vote, they're out there, and those who talk to them are those who don't want to vote for. So we have to really reach out to those people in their communities, in their spaces. And we have to get out of our own protective shells to reach out to the people who are the real voters. They are the real recipients of whatever damage is done to society or whatever development is brought to society. They are the recipients who get them. So spread your message to them and interact. That's what Barack Obama did. Barack Obama was moving house to house, speaking to people, hearing their stories, and sharing his own stories with them. So there are always connecting points when you interact with people. Almost always, there are stories that connect people. There are experiences that connect people. But you would not know those connections until you interact, until you share yours as well and listen to other people sharing theirs. And I think that is what a lot of good politicians have mastered. It is what an aspiring politician should master. And remember, social media is not where your votes are cast. The votes are cast in the community. But of course, you can use social media as well. And in this day and age, you have to be multifaceted. You have to be, you have to use various methods and approaches to reach out, to listen, and to interact and connect. And you also have to be a good listener as a leader, and that's where I will end it. In terms, there's so many, there's a long list of things that one has to do, and that's why a lot of time people sidestep these things and just go straight and avoid all the other crucial and critical elements of being a good leader. But if you ask me, those are the few that I will recommend, and I think you're already on a path on some of them.
And for who is a leader in Africa? Or who's a leader in Africa that's inspiring you right now? And who's a leader across the world?
Don't go there. I beg.
Not even the president of Ghana. He's doing, I've heard good things about him. You don't think so?
Let's just say this conversation will be pivoted to something else. But for me, I think
That's
for
funny.
me, there are so many things that a leader has to do and has to be to really truly inspire me. And I mentioned earlier that we have a deficit of leadership in the continent and globally, and I mean that in all seriousness. None of these ones right now inspire me. None of them, not a single one.
Wow.
Because they all have so many issues that I will be disingenuous with myself to say, oh, this one inspires me, and all that. There are so many things that is going wrong with our continent as a result of bad leadership. I think it was Chinua Achebe who wrote once about Nigeria's problems. And he highlighted 3 things that were Nigeria's problems. 1 is leadership. 2, leadership. 3, leadership. I rest the case for that.
I can't. Okay, I respect that. But where do you think this problem stems from? What is it like from our youth education? Is it we don't teach that integrity? What is the problem? Is it people going there who don't understand the communities they're serving? What creates this vacuum? Because we also, I say so many times, in the UK, I've lived there 3 years. They've changed prime ministers like weather. Like these, it's like today we wake up, there's a new prime minister, change your laws. It's dizzying. What is the problem? What is creating this populist, out of touch leaders?
Wow, that's a big one. That's a deep one. A number of issues, Julia. A number of problems. There's a disconnect between the people and those who govern them. There's a disconnect between the young and the old. There's a disconnect between policymakers and political leaders. There's a disconnect between society and the development actors that work in those societies. There's so many disconnections, and it is not just internet that we are lack of internet that we're disconnected from, or food or electricity that we're disconnected. We're disconnected. There's a disconnection between idea and practice. Those who have the ideas for what will work, and those who actually have to do the work are disconnected. So a lot of factors, and then you add to that the ever never-ending interference and involvement of foreign actors who continue to take advantage of these disconnections, of these poor leadership, of this lack of structures, to continue to exploit, to continue to extract. Africa has always been this place for exploitation and extraction, right? Whether it's the extraction of our ideas and our people, or the exploitation of our resources, natural and human. So it is this combination of factors that continue to plague us, that continue to produce the same set of people who we just recycle. They all come with campaign slogans for change and hope and all of these things, but they do the same. We can name countries. One after the other, you will see that opposition figures who criticize the incumbents come and do worse than what they did, than what the people that were criticizing. So it's not one problem. It is a multiple sets of problems. We also have a youth population that has become so despondent, and I wrote something about this, and I refer to it as the youth lash in Africa, which is a dilemma that we face as young people, that young people face around democracy and democratic participation. And we have a situation where the youth are so disengaged, are so disinterested, and this interest is not happening in vacuum. It didn't come just all of a sudden. It's as a result of what they have seen. In the case of Nigeria, we saw how the youth were heavily behind Peter Obi, and then how their hopes and dreams were crushed when the elections and commission did what they did. The same in Zimbabwe, the same in a number of countries where youth are getting arrested and detained, or they are being exploited with the growing extraction of people looking for cheap labor in the Middle East and elsewhere, taking our brothers and sisters to Dubai and other places to go and work in very precarious conditions. So we have so many problems. I know we started off in a very good and high note for the continent, and I think people outside see these potentials, they see what Africa can do. So they're trying to suck that out. And I will reiterate that Africa is the future. That will not change. It will not change. What will change is about what future that is what we need to determine. Is it a future where we are in the driving seats and ensuring that Africans and people of African descent everywhere in the world benefit from not just the natural material resources of the continent, but also of the intellectual resources of the people? Is it a feature that will ensure that Africans don't have to run and go through horrendous journeys in the Mediterranean and in the deserts to get to look for what they consider as greener pastures, but they will stay in their homelands and take advantage of what is there because an enabling environment has been created by the states to ensure that people can either self-employ or can gainfully and can get gainful employment to make ends meet, to just make a living. What people need is basic living, basic social services, so that when they wake up, they don't have to worry if the light is going to be consistent. And today, they're going to have consistent electricity power, or if they're going to have internet to connect so that they can do online transactions and business. So those basic things, or clean drinking water, or if they fall sick, they can go to a hospital that will give them the right set of treatment and medicines for them to take. So all of these are what we want to see. What we want to see for a very prosperous, united Africa is not rocket science. It's not something that is unachievable. It's not something that is out of the ordinary. These are just basic things that other countries have been able to achieve, other continents have been able to achieve. And I think Africa as a continent has the potential, has the resources, but lack the leadership and the mechanisms to achieve them.
Before we go, I wanted to say this because this is very important. I don't know if you know, but when the entire situation was happening with Peter Obi, obviously the election was rigged. We know it. I don't understand why it's 2024 and we're still counting election by hand. Like, are you freaking kidding me? It's like we have technology to count this election digitally. They promised us, INEC, which is our electoral commission, the technology to count it digitally. Yeah. They have the money. I think a lot of money, I don't have the accurate figures now, was invested in this, and all they gave us was a shoddy website that was not working during. Everybody was going on there. It was not working. And then they disappear. They come back and say, okay, yes, this man is the winner of the election. What frustrated me, and a lot of activists, including Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, I don't know if you know her, while we were still going through this situation, America was legitimizing the president. The UK was legitimizing this president. This issue, when we were saying, okay, this is going to be argued in court. Peter Obi was like, we're going to trust the judicial system. It failed us because prematurely, but I think they knew what they were doing. They went ahead to confirm a president that has not been confirmed by our own people. So when you talk about self-determination, when you talk about democracy, why are you intervening in our democratic process? Last 2 years, the last 4 years, whenever that was, where there was a situation with Trump and Biden, no country prematurely said, "Oh, congratulations, Trump." Nobody said that. We waited till the process was complete. It took longer than usual. It took, I think, 3 months or a couple of weeks past when we usually know the result of the election. But every country waited patiently. We were not given that same respect. They prematurely confirmed a president that they had no business confirming. And this is what I say when I mean foreign intervention. I do not like it at all. It's almost like when you want the US to say something, they're quiet. And then you start to think about, is it in their best interest for Africa to grow? We need to start asking ourselves that question. Is it in their best interest for Africa to be strong? Because if it's in their best interest and they're pro-democracy, they will not intervene in an election when that's what they're fighting here, saying that the Russians did to them. So to me, it's just that the goalposts.
The double standards, the double standards, and that is the saddest part in all this, in terms of international diplomacy or international relations. It is everybody for themselves. It is all about self-interest, and it is why, as a people and as nation states, we need to ensure that we strengthen institutions, to work in the interest of the people, and to ensure that there are accountability mechanisms that are trusted, that are credible, and that can show up when they are required to.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming. I like to do this thing with all my guests at the end. Give us a reality check. What's something reality check? I mean, what is something we should know that you know from your experience that you're like, you guys need to get your act together. Whoever it is, it could be international lawyers, it could be whatever you feel in your heart that these people need a reality check. Give us that reality check right now.
I, I, I'm trying to think. I think human rights lawyers, human rights practitioners, what recently happened with South Africa's case at the ICJ should serve as a reality check for us. But what is also happening across the world in terms of the elections that are happening in various places, the example you gave about Nigeria, with all the elections that are coming up in a lot of countries, should give us a reality check. The recent unconstitutional postponement of elections in Senegal, which has now been reversed luckily by the constitutional court in that same country, should also give us a reality check about how democracy works, what and why it is important to have strong institutions, not strong individuals, strong institutions to maintain or curtail the excesses of these individuals who want to continue to stay in power or want to continue to exploit and abuse their power for selfish interests.
Okay. Thank you so much, Makni, for coming on. This has been a delightful conversation. I think everybody should listen to this conversation because I'm inspired. You're inspirational. Thank you for the work you do. I honor you. I know it's not easy all the time, but you've done it and you're continuing to do it.